the other questions is coming up in the Twitter feed is that big companies going into social media end up in a wall of managing customer complaints. How do they avoid this, and and get into engaging people instead?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. How do they avoid?
How do you avoid? The question is, big companies going into social media end up just managing customer complaints. How do they avoid just doing this and get into engaging instead?
Oh, well, I mean, I think if you're just using it as a reactionary tool as opposed to a proactive tool, you're missing half the opportunity. And so, I think you could use one to bridge the other. Once you've started to kind of use it to, I find that very often they don't want to engage around customer complaints. They want to do the opposite. They want to just talk about what they want to talk about or use it as a news channel or whatever, and not actually engage people proactively around things that, reactively. They tend to just use it as a news channel. In the opposite scenario, I think that once you're starting to use it as a reactionary tool, it's much easier to go and use it as a proactive tool and kind of steering the conversation where you want it to go because people already trust you and are listening and are engaged. But I'm seeing the opposite problem, quite frankly, that people would just want to use it as a news funnel.
Okay. Any more questions from the crowd?
Hi, Steve. Would you have any practical advice for service providers, especially dealing with clients with minimal budgets? What do we say to them, and what do you suggest that we do practically?
Well, I mean, clients with minimal budgets, and especially if they're smaller or they're startups, to me, have a big opportunity to, use this to change the playing field. So if you think about it, I mean, the big companies often have the most baggage and the most the long cultures that have been in place a long time that they have to undo before they begin to engage in real time. So I think for a small company, you could use this disruptively to kind of influence people and go around larger competitors. So I think there's a lot of upside. So I think my advice is choose one venue where you think the conversation is happening mostly. If you're a tech company, it's probably Twitter. If you're dealing with causes, it might be Facebook. Locally, it's going to be different in Asia than it is going to be different here in the United States. Start with one place. Start with one topic, and be active, as active as you can, and be helpful, and be resourceful, and just do that well. And I think that you will use that to build relationships, and eventually what that does is you will reach a level of relationships and a level of presence that you will influence people with much bigger megaphones who can influence lots of people. So start small, but think about growing big.
Great. Any more questions from the crowd? Yep. It's not loading. What is it? Okay, here it is. How SEO needs to evolve? How does SEO needs to evolve now that search is moving towards real time? Is there going to be a convergence between SMO and SEO?
I actually don't like the term SMO because I think it makes it sound like you're. It stands for social media optimization. I think, it sounds like you're just trying to game the system. I do think that the SEO industry is in disarray right now. I think that they've done a good job of weeding out the troublemakers because Google has made those black hats, if you will, irrelevant. The guys who do it well have been advising people on how to optimize sites. But if you look at it, the website isn't as important as it used to be anymore. It's far more important now to be engaged in other places than sometimes your own. Because again, time and attention are finite. So I think that some of those folks are using social media to game the system, and I think that they're few and far between. The people who are recognizing it well are saying, "Hey, if we teach people how to engage with a search mindset, which I think they can bring to that, they can transform their own consultancies and their businesses." There's no doubt that search and social networking are converging. I think that the trend to watch is that search is going to get more social. We're seeing that with Google Real Time. But let's not forget that social is going to get more searchy. And what I mean by that is, Facebook has a search engine right now where you can actually go and you can search what your friends have written about, or you can search the entire stream of content that is public inside Facebook from within Facebook. It's tucked away right now, but watch, they will expose that in a big way, because quite frankly, that's where I think they can start to make some serious money if they start to put ads around that and do what Google did with search. So I think there's definitely an opportunity for the SEO-minded people who can begin to think about how to advise their clients and how to engage with a search mindset. But that industry is in disarray, and I think they're going to have to change fast.
Right. Now going back to your topic of the age of streaming, most companies today will have a Twitter account, a Facebook, maybe a blog, and a website. For these companies that have these different platforms and are engaged on these different platforms, how do they start on what you're talking about with streaming and live streaming?
Well, I think you have to think about how you integrate all that, right? So I think a blog could be a great hub for content. I think there's a role for depth for people who want to go deep into a subject. Blogs are very good for SEO. There's lots of big blogs that have become very successful, media companies, and so I think that that's a viable approach. Again, I think it's thinking about how many different topics you can cover, what topics of conversation are most important in different channels, and then using those appropriately and synchronizing them. And not taking on too much. A company like Starbucks can do it. If you're a two-person company, you can't. You got to pay the bills. So I think you think about how to synchronize those around the content areas that you think are relevant, and the ones that you think you can actually manage. Okay.
Well, we can't let you go without asking you about your predictions for 2010.
Well, I can't talk too much about that because that's what I'm paid for. But I think there's a number of things that are happening. I think that, if you want to get into the actual individual companies, which I don't necessarily focus on, I tend to focus on the big trends. I feel that Google and Facebook right now are unstoppable. I think that they're just unstoppable. I think they're both doing amazing things with data and personalization, and making all that more relevant to us every single day in different ways. And I think we're going to see them start to bump up against each other. Twitter is great. I enjoy it. But I don't know where they're going to get the next million tweeters from. I think they're going to get lots of people passively reading and engaging and setting up lists and tracking content. But I don't know where they're going to get the next 2 million, 3 million people who will tweet beyond who they've kind of gotten already. And as they begin to kind of figure out what their revenue model is, and I think that the revenue they have from the fire hose is great. They're going to start to think about how they make money, I think, through research. So I think the other trend we're going to see is Facebook and Twitter start to get more into the data business in selling insights, broad insights about consumers and how they use this content. I would never count out Microsoft. I think that Bing is coming out very, very strong, and we'll see them. I think we'll see them become more of a powerful force in the coming year.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you.
I think that's about all the time we have left. Thank you for waking up really early for us. I can see the sun.
This is when I'm always. Yeah, the sun's coming up. Yeah. This tends to be when I get up. So I'm not usually dressed by now, but I'm always up.
All right. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye.